Right now, somewhere in the world, a massive drill is boring 130 holes into solid rock, each one the height of a 5-story building. In a few hours, those holes will disappear in a controlled explosion that fragments thousands of tons of stone in precisely timed detonations, just 2 milliseconds apart. This isn't destruction. This is the beginning of how we extract one of the most essential metals on Earth. The copper in your smartphone, in the power grid keeping your lights on, in the electric car charging outside, all started exactly like this. But here's what most people don't realize. To get just 1 ton of pure copper, mining operations have to move nearly 200 tons of rock. And that's just the beginning of a process so complex, it makes building a skyscraper look simple. Today we're going underground, and inside the industrial giants that transform worthless rock into the metal that powers modern civilization. We'll follow copper from the moment explosives shatter mountain faces, through chemical baths that dissolve metal from stone into furnaces hot enough to melt steel, and finally to the precision machinery that creates the perfect wire running through your walls right now. You'll see why this process requires some of the largest machines ever built, why a single mistake can shut down production for weeks, and how engineers solve problems most people never knew existed. This is the complete journey from raw earth to the copper that makes our connected world possible. Before a single shovel touches the ground, teams spend months analyzing rock samples and mapping underground deposits using techniques that can detect copper concentrations hundreds of meters below the surface. What they're looking for seems almost impossible. Useful copper deposits typically contain less than 0.5% actual metal. That means 99.5% of everything they dig up will be discarded as waste. Yet, this tiny percentage is so valuable that companies will reshape entire landscapes, build roads through wilderness, and construct processing facilities the size of small cities just to reach it. The reason is simple. Copper combines perfect electrical conductivity with resistance to corrosion and infinite recyclability. It's irreplaceable, and that makes even the smallest concentrations worth pursuing. Once geologists confirm a viable deposit, the real transformation begins. Construction crews arrive to build the infrastructure that will support decades of operation. Access roads capable of handling 400-ton trucks, drainage systems to manage millions of gallons of water, and storage areas that will eventually hold mountains of processed rock. The scale becomes clear when you realize that most copper mines operate as open pits, meaning they'll eventually create craters visible from space. But the most impressive part isn't the size of the hole they'll dig. It's the precision required to extract microscopic traces of metal from an ocean of worthless stone. Every step of this process has been engineered to handle massive volumes while maintaining exact standards, because even small inefficiencies become catastrophic when multiplied across millions of tons of material. The drilling phase reveals the first critical challenge. Each blast hole must be exactly 16 meters deep and positioned with millimeter precision across the mining face. A single miscalculation in spacing or depth can create uneven fragmentation that jams the massive excavators, forcing costly delays while crews clear blocked equipment. Even worse, incorrect hole patterns can create dangerous overhangs or cause rock to fragment too finely, creating dust clouds that shut down operations for safety reasons. The drilling crews work against constant equipment stress as the colossal drills push through rock formations that can unexpectedly shift from soft sediment to granite-hard mineral deposits. When a drill bit breaks deep in a hole, extraction can take hours while the entire sequence waits, burning fuel and labor costs that quickly reach thousands of dollars per hour of downtime. Loading the blast holes requires a precise mixture of ammonium nitrate, fuel, and ANFO explosive, with each hole receiving a calculated charge based on the specific rock hardness at that depth. Quality control teams test every batch of explosive mixture, because variations in composition can either fail to break the rock properly or create dangerous overpressure that damages nearby equipment. Before any explosive enters the ground, safety inspectors verify that all personnel and machinery are beyond the blast radius, a process that involves coordinating the movement of equipment worth millions of dollars across a site that spans several square kilometers. The holes are then filled with inert material designed to direct the explosive force downward into the rock, rather than uselessly into the air. One rejected batch of explosive mixture means re-drilling affected holes and delaying the blast sequence, potentially disrupting the entire day's mining schedule. The detonation sequence transforms solid rock face into a precisely fragmented pile of stone in just seconds. The explosions don't happen simultaneously. Instead, they cascade across the mining face in a carefully choreographed sequence, with each blast occurring exactly 2 milliseconds after the previous one. This timing creates a wave effect that maximizes rock breakage, while minimizing the shock that could damage nearby structures or create dangerous fly rock. The result is spectacular. What was once a solid cliff face becomes thousands of tons of uniformly sized rock fragments, each piece small enough for the massive excavators to handle, but large enough to avoid creating excessive dust. The blast cloud rises hundreds of feet into the air, and when it clears, an entirely new landscape has been created, ready for the next phase of the copper extraction process. Now the mechanical giants take over, and the scale becomes almost incomprehensible. Mining excavators with buckets that can lift 80 tons of rock in a single scoop begin loading trucks that stand nearly 7 meters tall and can carry 400 tons per trip. Each excavator weighs as much as 50 cars and operates with hydraulic systems generating enough pressure to lift a locomotive. The trucks they load are engineering marvels themselves, with engines producing over 3,000 horsepower and tires that cost $40,000 each and stand taller than most people. From a control tower resembling an airport command center, operators coordinate the movement of dozens of these machines in real time, tracking fuel consumption, load weights, and maintenance schedules, while ensuring safe distances between equipment that could crush a regular vehicle without the operator even noticing. The coordination becomes critical when you realize that a single excavator can load a truck in under 3 minutes, but the truck's journey to the processing facility and back can take 30 minutes or more. This means each excavator needs a constant rotation of trucks to maintain efficiency, and any breakdown in the sequence creates a cascade of delays. The control center monitors every vehicle's position using GPS tracking and radio communication, adjusting routes in real time to avoid traffic jams between machines that are too large to simply pass each other on the haul roads. When a truck breaks down, specialized repair vehicles that are themselves the size of regular trucks must navigate through the active mining area to reach the disabled equipment. The rock these machines move goes through an immediate sorting process that determines its fate. High-grade ore heads directly to the processing plants, while lower-grade material gets stockpiled for later processing when metal prices justify the additional cost. Waste rock, which makes up the majority of everything moved, goes to carefully engineered disposal areas where it must be placed and compacted to prevent future environmental problems. Each decision point in this sorting process represents thousands of tons of material and thousands of dollars in processing costs, making accuracy essential for the mine's profitability. Here's where everything can go catastrophically wrong. The massive processing facilities that handle thousands of tons of ore per hour operate on razor-thin margins, where a single component failure can shut down the entire operation. When the primary crusher, a machine the size of a 3-story building, breaks down, it doesn't just stop production. It creates a backlog of trucks carrying 400 tons each that have nowhere to unload. Within hours, the entire mining operation grinds to a halt, as every piece of equipment in the chain becomes blocked. The financial impact is staggering. A major processing facility shutdown costs approximately $100,000 per hour in lost production, not counting the expense of emergency repairs and the risk of contractual penalties for delayed deliveries. Even worse, some repairs require specialized parts that must be manufactured to order, potentially extending shutdowns for weeks and threatening the mine's ability to meet annual production commitments that determine its financial survival. But when everything works, the transformation is extraordinary. The path from rock to pure copper splits into two dramatically different processes, each one a marvel of industrial chemistry and engineering. For oxidized ores, massive leaching pads stretch across hundreds of acres like geometric farmland, where diluted sulfuric acid slowly percolates through carefully stacked rock piles over a period of weeks, dissolving copper ions and creating a copper-rich solution that flows into collection channels. This liquid then enters solvent extraction plants, where organic chemicals selectively grab copper ions and concentrate them into increasingly pure solutions. The final step happens in electrowinning facilities, where electrical current deposits pure copper onto cathode plates over 10 days, growing layers 2.5 centimeters thick with 99.99% purity. For sulfide ores, the process becomes even more dramatic. Massive cylindrical mills filled with steel balls the size of bowling balls pulverize wet rock into fine particles, creating a slurry that flows into flotation cells where air bubbles attach to copper particles and carry them to the surface as metallic foam. This concentrate, now containing at least 30% copper, moves to smelting furnaces that reach temperatures hot enough to melt steel, where silica sand flux captures impurities in floating slag, while pure copper sinks to the bottom. The molten copper flows like a glowing river into molds, creating massive anodes that will undergo final purification in electrolytic refineries, emerging as cathodes of perfect purity, ready to become the wire in your walls. Even at 99.99% purity, the hunt for defects never stops. Quality control teams use electron microscopes to examine copper cathodes for microscopic impurities that could cause electrical failures months or years after installation. A single grain of unwanted metal measuring just a few micrometers can create a weak point that leads to power outages or equipment failures in critical applications. The testing process involves dissolving sample pieces in acid and analyzing the resulting solution with spectrometers sensitive enough to detect impurities at the parts per million level. Any cathode that fails these tests gets recycled back through the purification process, even though it may look identical to passing material. The economic impact of missing a defect is severe. Copper that fails in electrical applications can trigger warranty claims, emergency replacements, and liability issues that cost far more than the value of the original metal. The journey from cathode to usable wire involves another complete transformation. Pure copper cathodes enter vertical furnaces where they melt and flow by gravity into continuous casting machines that create rectangular blocks approximately 6 meters long. These blocks move through hot rolling mills with progressively smaller grooved rollers that transform them into continuous wire rod, approximately 7 millimeters in diameter. The precision required is extraordinary. Variations of even a fraction of a millimeter in diameter can cause problems in the wire drawing factories that will create the final products. The hot wire rod emerges like a glowing metal ribbon, guided by rollers onto massive carousels that form huge coils weighing several tons each. These coils are then compressed to reduce shipping volume and transported to wire manufacturers around the world, where they'll be drawn through progressively smaller dies to create everything from power transmission cables to the hair-thin wires in electronic devices. Back at the mine, the cycle continues with mechanical precision. The The control center sequences new blast patterns, coordinates the movement of 400-ton trucks, and manages stockpiles of different ore grades, while environmental teams monitor dust levels, water quality, and structural stability of the growing pit. Every 2 milliseconds of blast timing, every percentage point of copper recovery. Every hour of equipment uptime contributes to a global supply chain that makes modern life possible. When you flip a light switch, plug in your phone, or see an electric bus glide silently down the street, you're witnessing the end result of this massive industrial symphony. The copper that conducts that electricity traveled from rock containing less than 0.5% metal, through processes involving 130 precisely placed holes, explosions timed to the millisecond, trucks carrying 400 tons, and chemical baths that separate individual atoms. It's a reminder that behind every simple technology lies a world of complexity, precision, and human ingenuity that most of us never see. If this journey changed how you think about the materials around you, leave a comment about what surprised you most. Subscribe for more stories about how raw materials become the foundation of our world. And share this with anyone who's curious about the industrial processes that shape our daily lives. Next time, we'll explore another essential material and the remarkable journey from Earth to everyday use.